Hey everyone, it's Alexi Uzas here from Accelerator. In this video, I'm going to tell you about the 5 qualities that you need in order to become a film director. Before we jump in and get started, a quick reminder that spots are available for our Producing Accelerator program that helps filmmakers like you consistently finance, produce, and distribute your own films. So if you're interested in learning more about that program, stick around until the end of the video. And for the best filmmaking advice, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell to be notified when we post a video. Now, before I launch into this particular video, I want to do a quick introduction so that you know who I am and why I have some authority to speak on this matter. So I'm a feature film producer. This year, I will have produced my 10th feature film in 5 years. I've also produced numerous short films and I've distributed films in Australia and New Zealand and around the world, which is all to say that I do have some experience that I've built up over the years working with film directors and observing what the qualities are, or what the qualities that I believe are that make those film directors successful. So if you don't have one of these 5 qualities, you can still become a film director. In fact, if you have none of them, you can still become a film director. You could go to film school or you could learn through trial and error, and I'm sure that you could become a film director. However, if you're missing one of these 5 qualities, then in my view, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to become a successful film director and for you to build an enduring career in the film industry. So that's why I wanted to make this video for you today. Number 1 on the list is having a deep understanding and even respect for story. Now, this is one that may seem obvious to you, but especially when film directors are starting out, having just a surface level of understanding or appreciation for story is one of the biggest pitfalls that I see in emerging filmmakers. And to get an idea about how important it is for a director to not just understand, appreciate, respect, but actually master story, is to simply look at the Palme d'Or winners of the last 10 years and see that out of those 10, 9 of those were written or co-written by the director. And I think that that just speaks volumes to the fact that having that real understanding, that knowledge, that appreciation, respect, that mastery of story is one of the most important and greatest qualities that you can have as a film director. And when you're starting out as a film director, it's often the case that you are writing the film, that you're writing the screenplay. But what's important to realize is that if you're just trying to handball that part of the filmmaking equation off to someone else, if you're just hoping that you can find a writer to do all that work for you and have no real input in that process, then I think that you're doing yourself a real disservice as an emerging filmmaker. And so this is number 1 on my list, and it is something that I've observed as a film producer. The most successful directors that I've worked with have an extremely deep understanding of story. It's an insane knowledge of it and respect for it and appreciation for it. They understand all the elements of story, be it, story structure, be it theme. Theme is something that I think is really underappreciated in emerging filmmakers. It's something that not every filmmaker can clearly state their theme when it comes to their film. And if you can't do this, then it's hard to create a story of any real substance. So that's an important one. Characters is another obviously important one. And so even just knowing these basic things, but knowing them really deeply, and understanding them, and being able to then take feedback, take on notes from people, whether it's a producer or one of your trusted peers or an agency or an executive, knowing when to look at that feedback objectively and then be able to say, well, is this feedback something that's going to help or hinder the story? And then having the ability to take that feedback on. You can only do those things if you really understand the story to begin with, your story, and also story more generally. So this is one that I think is extremely important. And like I said, you have to look no further than the Palme d'Or winners of the previous 10 years to realize just how important it is. The second quality is that they are pragmatic. And this one might come as a bit of a surprise. But what I've found with film directors who are pragmatic is that they're able to just get things done when they need to. And when it comes to filmmaking, yes, it's a highly creative endeavor, but there is a whole nother side to it that's the nuts and bolts of it. And if you can't master that side of it, if you don't know how to make compromises where they're needed in order to get the film made, in order to get the film into production, in order to get the shot that you need, then it makes it very difficult for you to progress as a filmmaker, because it makes it difficult for you to get those films into production or to actually get them made, on budget, on time, on schedule. And so this is something that I've found is a quality that I didn't realize that it was so important, but once I started working with filmmakers, I really did realize how important that was. And so, the best kind of example of this, or the best example that I can give of where this comes into play is definitely when there's a clash between the creative and the budget. That could happen in pre-production, or it could happen on set, on the day. And in that moment, the director has to make a decision about what to do. And if the director can be pragmatic, then what I've found is that helps it helps the momentum continue, and it helps keep the wheels turning. And really, that's what production is. It's this huge freight train. And once those wheels are turning, it's hard to stop them. And by having a director that can be pragmatic, it ensures that train just keeps going without getting derailed. And one thing to note is that being pragmatic doesn't mean that you're not trying to realize your vision. It doesn't mean that you're just trying to make too many compromises and that you can get walked over. That's not what it is at all. It's simply the ability to make decisions that will allow the production to keep going when not making that decision would actually affect the creative in a negative way. And so this is a quality that I think is extremely important to have as a film director. And it's actually one of the qualities that I look for really early on when I'm developing a relationship with the creative, because I know that if they can be pragmatic, then we're going to be able to make sure that the film actually gets made. And so that is number 2 on my list. The third quality that you need to have in order to become a film director is to be a leader. And what I mean by that is that you need to have a distinct creative vision, and you must be able to get buy-in from everyone involved in your team, including the producer. And this is one of the really interesting things about the producer-director relationship, is that really, still at the end of the day, the producer is there to facilitate the director's creative vision. But in order to do that, You need to sell us on the idea. You need to get buy-in from us. Because once you do that, we will move heaven and earth to help you make that creative vision come to life. But without it, it's extremely difficult for a producer or any member of the team to really get on board. And this is extremely important when we're talking about indie filmmaking, where resources are limited, where crew might be working on deferred fees, or people could be providing in-kind support. If they're doing those things for you, they at the very least need to believe in your vision, in what you're trying to achieve as a film director. And so being really clear about what that vision is, about why it's important for everyone to be on board with that vision, why it's important for you as a team, as a collective, to achieve that vision, is really the first and most vital step that you need to take as a leader. Then there are other things that you're going to need to do or be able to exhibit as a leader. You're going to need to be driven. So when everyone is tired on set, you need to be the one that is on the front line, that is, not giving up, that is helping other people stay motivated and stay positive, even if all you want to do is collapse to the ground in a heap. You need to be empathetic. You need to be able to show empathy towards other members of your team in order to get the most out of that team. And there are various other qualities that you need as a leader, but being a leader is really the quality that you need in order to become a film director and in order to succeed as a film director. The fourth quality that you need in order to become a film director is to be a risk taker. And in many ways, the film director embodies a lot of the qualities and traits of an entrepreneur. And that is the ability to take risks. Whether it's putting it all on the line financially, whether it's taking risks creatively, the film director needs to constantly be taking risks in order to achieve their vision and in order to build a career. And a great example of this is being on set and taking risks when it comes to circumstances that arise on set. So if you're a film director, you've probably been on set sometime and had a circumstance arise that hasn't really been planned on that day. But when that arises and you can see that it actually is going to make the film better, it's going to make what you're trying to achieve, it's actually going to elevate it. When you can then decide and take the risk on that decision and throw all the resources and all the people into that action, that is an example of risk taking at its highest level. And I truly believe that those filmmakers that are willing to take risks, that are willing to put it all on the line, whether, like I said, it's their time, their own time that they're risking, that they're putting, that they're willing to forego, whether it's their own money, throwing their own money into projects, into developing, or whether it's taking risks creatively, being bold with the films that they want to make and the decisions that they want to take as a film director. I believe that if you're taking those risks, you're setting yourself up with the best chance to succeed. And some great examples of filmmakers that I admire and I think that take risks creatively are filmmakers like Gaspar Noé. He's a filmmaker that absolutely takes a risk every time he makes a film. And he may not be sure where or how it's going to be received, how audiences are going to react. And he may not always please audiences or please critics, but that never stops him from taking risks. And another great example, the filmmakers that made the first Saw. I really believe that film was taking a risk. It was doing something different. It was putting their own money on the line, and you can see the success that film had, and also that those filmmakers have now had as a result of that film. So risk-taking is something that I think is extremely important as a film director. You need to get comfortable with the uncomfortability of taking risks. And it's something that you need to practice consistently and never get into a position where you stop taking risks as a director. The fifth and final quality on my list is resilience. And to give a quick definition of that, what I mean is the ability to bounce back from a difficulty or an obstacle. And this is something that shouldn't be confused with stubbornness. It's not being so resilient that you dig your heels in and you become stubborn about a decision. What I mean by resilience is showing and being able to demonstrate psychological resilience, emotional resilience, particularly when you're on set. So we've all heard or experienced stories about directors that aren't able to show resilience, be it psychological or emotional. And what typically happens on set is that they break down or melt down. And this is probably the most graphic example that I can give of this, because if anyone has experienced it, then they'll know what I'm talking about. Thankfully, I haven't experienced it with a director, but I've heard the horror stories, and I've certainly experienced it with other crew members. And to see this type of thing happen on set can really bring down an entire production. And I'm not overstating that, because when this happens, it really brings down the whole culture, the whole kind of psyche of the set. And that's something that is difficult to recover. So resilience is something that's extremely important in a director, because having that resilience on set means that they're always going to be emotionally stable. They're going to be unwavering in their commitment to their vision, but they're not going to let obstacles or difficulties that arise on set kind of throw them off, either psychologically or emotionally. Also, resilience is something extremely important to have during the development phase, but more so during the financing stage, because the financing stage is extremely difficult. There are so many setbacks, so many obstacles that you face as a film director, of course, also as a film producer, as that team. And so being able to demonstrate resilience during that phase is extremely important for the film director, because as that team that's trying to raise finance, like I said, it's difficult to do. So particularly as a film producer, if you're the one that's doing a lot of that raising and you're going through that and you're facing setbacks, if you have a director next to you that's resilient, that is able to help you bounce back, that is demonstrating those qualities and some of the qualities I spoke about earlier, right? That is still being a leader, that's being pragmatic, that is still willing to take risks with you, then that makes it much easier as a team to get through that stage. So that's why I think resilience is so important to have as a film director, because it's really just about being able to handle those setbacks and those obstacles in a way that doesn't derail you emotionally or psychologically, and then by default doesn't derail the entire production. So that's my fifth and final quality. Okay, so that's it for this video. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit me up in the comments and let me know if there are any other qualities that you believe you need in order to become a film director, and more importantly, in order to succeed and build a career as a film director. Now, I want to circle back and talk a bit more about our Producing Accelerator program that helps filmmakers like you consistently finance, produce, and distribute your own films. So if you're having any difficulties in any of these areas, particularly when it comes to the financing stage, then what I want you to do is head to the link in the description below, check out our video that takes you through our financing system and shows you how we help filmmakers like you consistently finance their own films. Then what you can do is set up a time to speak with either me or a member of my team. We'll be talking about your project and working out where you're at right now, where you're trying to get to, and if the program is the right fit for you. And as always, check out these videos next on how to up your filmmaking game.